Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Brahmacharya Stadasi Smad, His Divine Grace, Sri Lacy Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Brahmacharya Stadasi Smad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Thakur Bhakti Vinoda Ki Jai. The Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Parampara Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Holy Ekadashi Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Parakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Shijivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Brijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapcha Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabhana Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So time. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. His verse number 9 of the 10th chapter, chapter entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. Please repeat. Mac-cittā, mad-gata-prāṇā, bodhayantaḥ, parasparam, kathayantaś, nityam, tuṣyanti, ramanti, mac-cittā, mad-gata-prāṇā, bodhayantaḥ parasparam, kathayantaś nityam, tuṣyanti ramanti, mac-cittā, mad-gata-prāṇāḥ, bodhayantaḥ parasparam, kathayantaś nityam, tuṣyanti ramanti, mac-cittā, mad-gata-prāṇāḥ, bodhayantaḥ parasparam, kathayantaś nityam, tuṣyanti ramanti. Okay, go ahead. Okay, word for word, please. Mac-cittā, their minds fully engaged in me. Mad-gata-prāṇā, their lives devoted to me. Bodhayantaḥ, preaching. Parasparam, among themselves. Kathayantaḥ, talking. Yeah, also. About me. Nityam, perpetually. Tuṣyanti, become pleased. Yeah, also. Ramanti, enjoy transcendental bliss. Ja, also. Translation Srila Prabhupada. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Please repeat. Thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Purport Srila Prabhupada. Pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subject. The symptoms of pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Kṛṣṇa, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself, and in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahmajyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky, also, that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavan, supreme planet of Kṛṣṇa. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa and rests there. Gradually, as a plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits. And the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 19. It is explained that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotee, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 12, 13, 18. Srimad Bhagavatam Puramam Amalam Yat Vaishnavanam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Kṛṣṇa consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literature, just as a young boy and a girl take pleasure in association. Mukam karoci vachalam pangam laite grim yad kripa tamaham bande gurun dinatarinam mac-cittā mad-gata-prāṇā bodhayantaḥ parasparam kathayantaś nityam tuṣyanti ramanti. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Yes. So, very wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada, explaining that the fruit of Kṛṣṇa consciousness is direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. The problem now is, in the material conditioned state, we have direct relationship with the Maya Shakti. Instead of relating to the Supreme Lord, we are relating to Maya, illusion. And therefore we think we're this body, we think we're this troubled mind, we think that this material world be the source of our satisfaction. Basically summed up as aham mameti. I am this body, and the things belonging to this body, they are mine. And because they are mine, Ishwaropi, I will control them, and aham bhogi, I am the enjoyer. This is illusion. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate imatva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samambitaha. That is the first verse of the Chatusloki, that Kṛṣṇa says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Now, if everything emanates from Kṛṣṇa, if Kṛṣṇa is the creator, everything belongs to him. In the earlier, or the Gita later, Mama Vamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are belonging to Kṛṣṇa. And we are the living entities, we are eternal. We belong to Kṛṣṇa. So this is the illusion that we think that I belong to myself, and the material paraphernalia of this body and mind, that belongs to me to enjoy. And therefore we become karma lokayam karma bandhana. With this attitude, we become bound by karma. And we go into mritu samsara bhatmani. Kṛṣṇa says in the Gita, ashradha dhana purusha dharmas yasya parantapa aprapyamam nivatante mritu samsara bhatmani. This is a very heavy verse. Those that are not faithful, believing, they're not putting their energy into devotional service, cannot attain me. That means they cannot attain eternal life in relationship to me, but return to birth and death in the material world. So there are three types of living entities. There are those that have no knowledge of spiritual life. They're trying to be Ishvaro Ahambogi, controller and enjoyer. Then there are those that are practicing sadhana bhakti. They've realized duklayam asashvitam. The material world is no good. It is a place where everything in relationship to one another and myself is temporary. And kalayam, ultimately it's miserable. As Lord Rishabhdev in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada quotes the Bhagavatam, he explained to his sons, he says, Nunam pramakta kurute vikarma. He explains that, my dear sons, unless you understand that the endeavor for sense enjoyment is a useless waste of time, then you are insane. Unless a person understands that, he is insane. Because he's trying to enjoy that which will only make him suffer. There may be some ephemeral enjoyment through the senses, but because of that enjoyment, he will be bound and habitually try to exploit and enjoy the material energy, and he'll return birth after birth in the cycle of birth and death. So the little bit of enjoyment that there is in eating, sleeping, mating and defending on the material platform, which is what we are hooked upon, condemns us to continual birth and death. So Rishabhdev makes it very clear. He says, if you think that this is going to give you happiness, just like somebody may think, I'm going to take intoxications, I'm going to take heroin, drunkenness, and I'm going to enjoy. When the next day, or he's habitually addicted to these intoxicants, and his mind and subtle body, his gross body, is becoming destroyed, and ghosts are starting to swirl around him. If he thinks this is a source of happiness, anyone from the outside will think this man is insane. He's taking that which will destroy him. But he's thinking it's a source of happiness. So maya means that which is not. That is the actual translation. Maya, that which is not. We think this is enjoyment, but it is actually binding us to suffering. So, what should we do about it? This is the big question of all philosophers. All philosophers, material or otherwise, they discuss the question of suffering. When Sanatana Goswami, he met Lord Chaitanya, he said, Kayami. Oh Lord Chaitanya, what am I? And then he said, why am I suffering? What am I? And why am I suffering? I'm the big minister of Hussain Shah. I'm an expert in Sanskrit, Persian. I'm a big minister in his government. I have unlimited wealth at my disposal. While he is going out raiding other districts, trying to expand his empire, I am running his kingdom. But why am I suffering? So he's achieved everything. He's achieved position, palace, learning. But I don't know what I am, he says to Lord Chaitanya. And I don't know why I'm suffering. I'm in a gilded cage. I'm in a palace. I'm in the highest position in the government, practically speaking. But I'm suffering. I'm full of anxiety. I'm full of kunta. I'm full of kunta. Why? As all acharyas have explained, because I'm trying to enjoy that which will only make me suffer. This is the first lesson. Arjuna is chastised by Kṛṣṇa. Here's Kṛṣṇa telling Arjuna, Arjuna is in anxiety. I don't want to fight. I don't want to do my duty. It's too horrendous. This is the situation of the material world. Everyone, from the top to the bottom, Abhruma, Abrahma, Bhuvana, Loka, Purna, Avachanarjuna, everywhere is a place of suffering. It's not just in Patala Loka. It's not just in Rasatala, Mahatala, Sutala, Vitala, Atala, or Bhuloka, or Bhuvaloka, or Indraloka. Everywhere is a place of suffering. And everything is temporary. Everything will be cast aside. We are trying to achieve that which we cannot grasp. Just like when we grab sand and it runs through our hands. And then we lament, hankering and lamenting. I want this enjoyment. It's bringing me suffering. I get it, and it runs through my hand. So, Maya, that which is not, that is suffering. But we are trying to enjoy. So Rishabdev makes that point, that if you don't have that conviction, if you're not trying to become out of this illusion, then you're crazy. So the second class of devotee, middle, is those devotees who've understood this. We may not have love of God. Prabhupada mentions there. In the preliminary stage of bhakti, Prabhupada said, the devotee may enjoy. Yes. Chetadapanamajinam bhavmahani. First, his mind becomes purified by chanting and hearing Bhagavad philosophy. He comes out of illusion. He starts to feel, oh, this is nice. I never felt clear-minded before like this. Then Bhava Mahadnibhag, then the Bhavarog becomes less. But that is only preliminary stage. But Lord Chaitanya says, Shreya, this is now his Shreya. It is his good position. And from that position, if he continues hearing from bona fide Guru, he will get Vidyavadu Jivanam. He will understand that my nature is not just to get relief from material entanglement, which is the preliminary stage of bhakti, but he will now enter into anandam buddhivadhanam pratipurnam vitasvadhanam. You can come to Krishna consciousness and you can give it intoxication, fornication, meat eating, gambling. You can regulate your life. You can associate with devotees. I feel relief. Right? But that is preliminary stage. Prabhupada explained in the purport, in the highest stage, he feels prema. He enjoys anandam buddhi vadhanam. Why? Because now, vidyavadu jivanam, he's understanding I'm spirit soul, but now he's acting as the function of the spirit soul. And in that function, he's realizing his swarup, his spiritual form. As Prabhupada said mentioned in the purport, bhakti is like a seed. It grows, it comes, then it bears fruit, and then flowers, and then fruit. That fruit is love of God. So, whatever stage we find ourselves in, we should have a clear conception of prayojan. This is the Chaturshloki. That means Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan is very concisely presented. Sambandha means relationships. Aham sarvasya pravavo matak sarvam pravartate. All right? So Prabhupada used to quote this verse. Vishnu Shakti para prokta chaitra jana tata para avidya karma samyana nityaṁ shakti yate. The internal potency of the Supreme Lord is spiritual, as verified by the Shastras. There is another spiritual potency known as Chaitra Jnana, the living entity. The third potency, which is known as nescience, Maya, makes the living entity godless and fills him full of karmic, fruitive activity. And then the next sloka. O king, the Kshetragan Shakti is the living entity. Although he has the facility to live in either the material or spiritual world, he suffers the threefold miseries of material existence because he is influenced by the avidya nescience potency, which covers his constitutional position. Therefore, Maya is covering our vidyavadu jivanam. So the first stage of devotional service, of ridding yourself of Maya, is to understand the actual position. Just like if you want to understand Maya is darkness, how you must shed the light of knowledge. That is the Vedic knowledge, as Prabhupada explained. The Vedic knowledge is in 10 mula. Close the door, the children are playing. Das mula. Veda Pramana is number 1. You should understand that the Vedas are the source of knowledge that will dissipate the Maya Shakti. Vedesha Dulama Vidulama Matma Bhakto. But you should understand that if you want to understand the Vedas, you have to understand them through devotion, through service to the Mahatma. Mahat Sevam Dwaram Aho Vimuktesh. So Mahat, that is Veda Pramana. Number 1, Hari Ishwara. You should have a good understanding. You should contemplate that Hari, Shri Kṛṣṇa, is the ultimate. Krishnastu Bhagavan Prayam. Hari means Radha and Kṛṣṇa. Hari is a jewel. I'm going very fast. Hari. Then Achintya Shakti. The Kṛṣṇa is possessed of Achintya Shakti, unlimited. Achintya means beyond material conception. And that variety is unlimited in depth. It is infinite and unlimited in potency. Vasudeva Savamiti. Krishna said earlier, Ham Sarvasya Prabhavo is Achintya. And then Rasavai Saha. So these 3 points are about Kṛṣṇa. He is Hari, Ishvara, he is controller. He is the source of all potency. He is Rasavai Saha. Because there is not just energy, but there is rasa. Rasa means mellow. Just like we look at the sun setting and we think, oh, nice rasa. But that colors, those beautiful colors, the cloud, the purple, the blue, the red, the orange, that is energy, but also rasa. So the artist is thinking, I'll write a poem about the beauty of the sunset. The scientist is thinking, I'll calculate the angle of the sun and the refraction through the air, and that will explain the different colors. So this whole material creation, spiritual creation, it is an explanation, it is an expansion of Krishna's energies, but it is full of rasa. Then, next one, Jiva Angsa. The living entity is the part and parcel of Kṛṣṇa. Just like my finger is part and parcel of me. But my finger is not my body, it is part of my body. And then the jiva is found in the bound condition, as I already explained at the beginning of the class, by trying to enjoy the wrong thing selfishly. And then he's in the liberated condition. So what is that liberated condition? These are the 3 points for the jiva. The jiva is the answer of Kṛṣṇa. The jiva is bound by trying to enjoy the Maya Shakti, and he becomes liberated how? What is his liberated condition? Sava opudi vinir muktam tat paratena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha evanam bhakti ruchyate. That the living entity, when he casts away all his Mayic conception of the self, just like Sanatana Goswami, he's saying, Kayami, what am I? I'm not the minister in this government. I don't feel comfortable thinking about myself in that way. Kayami, what is my real nature? He understands that I am the servant of the Supreme. I am part of the Supreme. In the 4th chapter, Krishna said, when you have learned the truth, you will know 3 things. All living entities are but part of me, are in me, and are mine. Angsa. We belong to Kṛṣṇa. All living entities, every living entity. But we're under the spell. Just like the prince, handsome prince, goes into the forest, and then he's hungry. He eats some grapes, but the grapes, they belong to the wicked witch, the forest. So the wicked witch comes along and says, you've eaten my grapes without permission. Now you must become a frog. So the witch puts him under the spell. So when you see all living entities everywhere playing holy, on the road, the policeman, the children throwing bottles of whatever at you, always remember that they're all under the spell of the Maya Shakti. The 3rd class of people is the people who are out of the spell. They know I'm spirit soul. What does Krishna say in the Gita? Mahatmanastamam patha devim prakriti. No, sorry. Manushanam shahastreshu kaschid yatate siddhaya. So what is that siddha? Very few people try to become in spiritual life. So who is the siddha? The siddha means, I know I'm not the body. I have a spiritual conception of myself and a spiritual conception of everyone else. If you have it about yourself, you should have it about everyone else. But then he says, Manushanam Shastresha, Yatatam api siddhanam. What's the next part? Yes. But out of those that understand I'm spiritual, very few know me in truth. Bhaktimam abhijananti. How do you know Kṛṣṇa? By bhakti. So yes, sava upadi vinir muktam tatvaratena nirmalam, all the mala, all the misconceptions dispelled. I'm a spirit soul. But how to go to the point from that to knowing Kṛṣṇa? Prabhupada explained in the purport. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. We are angsa of Kṛṣṇa. Everyone is angsa of Kṛṣṇa, but they're in the spell. These children, you can hear them giggling. They're in a spell. The dog you see in the street, he's in a spell. He's trying to eat the grapes in the material world. The birds flying in the sky, they're in the spell of being a bird. We're all in a spell. We look at the body every morning, brushing the teeth, maybe. We're looking at our spell. And we're thinking, that's me. That's my spell, we should think. So how to get out of it? How to become in that liberated condition? Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. We have to understand, I'm spirit and I'm going to serve Kṛṣṇa. I'm going to serve the Supreme Lord. In the 9th chapter, what did Kṛṣṇa say? Ananya-cetasa. He said, those that remember me without deviation, for them I'm easy to attain because of their full engagement in devotional service. So how do we get ananda-cetā? How do we get undeviating consciousness? How we go from siddhi? Oh, I realize I'm not the body. I'm in the temple a year or two, I'm chanting, I'm reading the Gita. How do we go to prem bhav? And don't think that prem bhav is just for Prahlad Maharaj or Dhruva or the gopis in the 10th canto or Uddhava or the residents. You are made for prem bhav. You are made for prem bhav. You're not meant for this material world. How do you go there? By desire. By trying to desire the material and control the material world, our desire is going there, we're bound. If we desire to go out, what should we do? Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti. We should arrange our life so that we are serving Kṛṣṇa at every moment. And Kṛṣṇa said very generously, if you are always thinking of me, ananya-cetasa, then I'm very easy to attain. Because that's full devotional service. So within that remembrance, Prahlad Maharaj has given us 9 things. Ravanam, Kirtanam, Maranam, Adasevanam, Achanam, Vandanam, Jasya, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. That is Abhideya. That is Abhideya. So this Veda-pramāṇa, that is pramāṇa. The prameya, those that achieve, 3 about Kṛṣṇa, 3 about the living entity. What is the Abhideya? The Abhideya is bhakti. Mahat Sevam Dwaramaho Vimuktes. As Rupa Goswami, Narottam sings, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. Everything I am offering to Rupa Goswami, he is the head of my parivar. All my mantra, all my japa, all my seva, all my study, all my austerity, now is Ekadashi, everything I'm offering to Rupa Goswami. That is the beginning of Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhaktu. It means that now, instead of trying to serve myself, I serve the Supreme Lord through the Mahatma. Mahat Sevam Dwaram Aho Vimuktes. Mahajena Gatasvapanta. By serving the actual Mahatma. Mahatmanastamam Patha Devim Prakritim Ashritaha. That is the essence of Abhideya. And that's what Kṛṣṇa is talking about. In the 9th verse, he said, Aham Savasya Prabhavo. And those that understand that perfectly, Bhuta Bhava Saman, they do my devotional service. And then he spoke today's verse. This is how you recognize a devotee. Mac-cittā. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. They're getting rasa. They're enjoying. They dwell in Kṛṣṇa. Why? Because it's delightful to serve your beloved. Their lives are fully devoted to my service. They don't want to do anything else. They are Jad Bharat. Jad Bharat. He didn't want to talk to anybody about anything else. He was Jad, dull. He's not very intelligent. He's born in a nice family, but he doesn't talk to anyone. Why? In his previous lives, he had a lot of problems. He wasn't going to have that problem again. So he was completely fixed on remembrance of the Supreme Lord without distraction. They derive great satisfaction and bliss, always enlightening one another. So that's how you can recognize good association. Because you want to be in sadhu sangha, tava shastra hoy, lava mata sadhu sangha, tava siddhi hoy. You want sadhu sangha. Who is sadhu? Sadhu is somebody with whom it is easy to talk about Kṛṣṇa. If you find yourself asking questions to the sadhu, or giving your idea to the sadhu, or the sadhu stimulates you into thinking about Kṛṣṇa, that is good association. If somebody is, it doesn't matter what position they're in, if they don't feel comfortable talking about Kṛṣṇa, they are not sadhu sangha. So the path to devotional service, we attain Kṛṣṇa through sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, tava shastra, tava mata sadhu sangha. So you must be very careful, because we are tatastha shakti. So desire and learning about Kṛṣṇa, as Prabhupada explains here, through the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the essence of Abhideya. We must build up an internal picture of the spiritual world. This is prayojan, sambandha abhideya prayojan. Rupa Goswami explains, devotee, he is like a married woman with a paramour. She's married, serving the husband, but she's always thinking about her beloved. So a devotee, he is doing all his material duties. He is disciplining the body, studying the Shastra. He's following Ekadashi nicely. He's doing all his duties. He's filling in the form for the government, he's paying tax, he's doing this, but he's always thinking of the spiritual world. Through the Srimad Bhagavatam, through the Brahma Samhita, he knows the spiritual world. He visualizes the spiritual world. In the Brahma Samhita, it explains that Radha and Kṛṣṇa are like a jewel surrounded by the lotus. Those lotus petals are the abodes of the gopis. Around that is the Vatsalya Bhav. Around that is the Sakhya Bhav, the cowherd boys. Around that is the Dasya Bhav. Around that is Shantaras. And everything is being worshipped by Lord Chaitanya. So through his study of the activities of pure devotees, described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's no karma, there's no gyan, there's no impersonalism, there's nothing. He's building a picture. He's having a paramour in his mind. He's washing this body, feeding it, putting it to sleep. But he's dwelling in Kṛṣṇa. And that is prayojan tattva. Sambandha abhidaya prayojan. You must develop a picture of your destination. If you want to go to Kanyakumari, you must know where Kanyakumari is. Or else you'll end up in Badrinath. Of course, Badrinath is a good place to end up. But if we want to go somewhere, what's the first thing we do? We fix our mind on our destination, then we make a plan to get there. And we gain knowledge. Sambandha, abhidaya, prayojan. So the devotee, through his chanting particularly, through his hearing, he develops smaranam of the spiritual world. In the material world, everyone has this buzz going on in the brain. I don't like him. He said that. She did that. Have I got enough money to pay the rent? My boss is shouting at me, I'd better do this. We've got a dialogue in our mind. The devotee is developing the dialogue of Kṛṣṇa. He's seeing the spiritual world. He's doing like Rupa Goswami. He's offering his mantra, his study, his japa, his celibacy, his kindness. He's offering it to Rupa Goswami. He's developing that. And he's asking, desiring Kṛṣṇa, please take me. Ainanda Trunuja Kinkaram Patitamam Veva Bambudo Kripaya Tava Pankaja Suti Duli Sadrisim Vichintaya. O son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your servant. You're the servant of Nanda Maharaj. Please pick me up, place me as a speck of dust on your lotus feet. Very humbly. Manmana bhava madbhakto ajaji am namaskar. That approach touches the heart of Kṛṣṇa. If you approach anyone with humility, they will be well disposed. So that Kṛṣṇa is telling, don't tell this secret to anyone. But if I'm approached, mam namaskaru, in a gentle way, I feel, because Kṛṣṇa's mercy is unlimited. Don't think that Kṛṣṇa's mercy is just for the people in the Bhagavatam or Arjuna. You belong to Kṛṣṇa. Vibhishan, what happened? Oh, Ram, he came to Ram before the battle. He said, I can't stay with this Ravana. He's abominable. He's my brother. What he's doing, how he's stressing Sita Devi. Ram, I'm coming to you. So Ram immediately accepted him. And what did he say? He said, Vibhishan, you have come to me. Anyone that comes to me and says, I belong to you, Ram. I don't belong to Ravana. Then I will take him as my own, and he will remain safe from that day on. So that is how we attain Kṛṣṇa. Through understanding from Acharya, from Shastra, from Guru. What is prayojan? What is perfection? And desiring that. And once we desire that, Kṛṣṇa takes us as his own. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. And he says, right, now the last two slokas, we'll read them, of the Chatusloki. To those that are constantly devoted to serving me with love. So we should do service. We should conjure up. We should, with love, with rasa, offer. Oh, here's Kṛṣṇa. Here's some tulsi and some water. Here's an apple. Kṛṣṇa will accept it. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. I do it personally. Krishna's within the heart. Kṛṣṇa says, I destroy. Sevan mukhi hi jivado vayam eva spuryada. Kṛṣṇa reveals himself. To who? Those that are worshipping me with love and who depend upon me. I accept them as my own. That is the special quality of bhakti, the special power of bhakti, that karma and jnana have no entrance into bhakti. Because bhakti is just transcendental love between the Supreme Lord and his devotee. So bhakti marg means to cultivate that by taking shelter of those and having the vision of those that have that transcendental. And we get that, as Prabhupada explains, through the Srimad Bhagavatam and through Sadhu Sangha. So thank you all very much for your kind attention. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And happy Holi. But don't throw any water.